All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Auburn Daily Show, episode 5 of the inaugural season of the Auburn Daily Show. Lance Dahl here with you. Thank you so much for taking a listen to the show today. Got a lot of news to get to, a lot to unpack. Yohan Traore committing to the Auburn Tigers, a potential addition in the transfer portal for Auburn football, and then finally Devan Cambridge, former Auburn Tiger. He has found a new home. Exciting show today. Normally, I did not expect Friday to be the day where we just kind of unpack a lot of different news that has come out. And quite frankly, it is April 1st, and I've seen several headlines that have almost gotten me, Auburn-related stuff. I just want to say that I am gullible. I'm easy to get. So I've seen several things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's happening. Oh, wait a second. Yep, it's April 1st, April Fools. I normally don't partake in April Fools. I understand the entertainment behind it, but me personally, it would just I couldn't do that to somebody, to get them hyped up over something and then just be like, oh, gotcha. Anyway, something that you should be hyped up over that is very legitimate. Yohan Traore committing to the Auburn Tigers. Bruce Pearl went and nabbed him after Yohan decommitted from the LSU Tigers just a few short. Was it a couple of weeks ago? Was it a few days ago? It was a very short time between him decommitting and him committing to the Auburn Tigers. A 5-star center out of Napa, California, 6'10", 235-pound big man. He is the second highest rated recruit in Auburn basketball history. Huge addition for the Tigers. He chose Auburn over Gonzaga. Not Georgia. Wasn't even considering. Chose Auburn over Gonzaga, Texas Tech, Michigan, and the G League. Take that, G League. We got you one. All these different players that have considered coming to the Auburn Tigers instead of the G League. Very thankful that we were able to finally nab a kid that was thinking about making a transition to the next level. I went, watched some film on him, got a little bit of a scouting report here for you. Going to talk about what this means for Auburn's roster as well. I'm also going to read the 24/7 Sports scouting report, similar to mine, but just figured I'd throw it out there for you. My scouting report, he's your modern big man. I guess you could classify him as a stretch 5. He could play the 5. He could play the 4. He's got extended range shooting, but I think he's going to primarily work around the basket for the Tigers. He's very comfortable generating offense, whether it be facing the basket or with his back to the basket. He can do either. He's got solid post moves. He's also got a solid frame. Like I mentioned, 6'10", 235 pounds. He's oddly comfortable with the basketball in his hands. And this is something that we said a little bit. We even talked about this, I believe, on yesterday's show. Might have been the day before. Talking about Walker Kessler. He's got soft hands, right? He can catch the ball. He can dribble it. He's very, very comfortable at his size doing things that most centers couldn't do. Traore is very, very interesting because you go and watch some of the film. I mean, there are some moments where he doesn't operate well in the fast break. That's not how high school teams utilized him. I believe it was Dream City Christian. That was the school he was playing at in Phoenix. He's from Napa, but I believe he played in Phoenix, Arizona. But they used him in the half court, and there would be moments where he would get a look at the top, and he'd just be like, I'm just going to drive it. Just going to drive it straight to the hole, get a layup, get a dunk. Very, very comfortable with the ball in his hands. And that's why I kind of said, I think you could classify him as a stretch 5. He's your modern NBA type big man. He can handle the ball. He can shoot it. And by the way, I think that it is worth noting he has extended range. He can shoot the 3. I think it's very important to note he can shoot the 3, which I think is definitely something that Bruce Pearl used probably as a recruiting tactic. Look, we let our guys shoot 3s here, every single one of them. And if you want to be able to take that shot, you take that shot. Although I will say, I think he's more comfortable, and I think he's going to opt to take mid-range jumpers more often than not. Is that an efficient shot? Kind of, but we can talk about that at a later date once we actually get to see this kid play a little bit. He should be strong on the pick and roll and the pick and pop for Auburn. It's something that was a huge part of their offense this past season, specifically the pick and roll between Wendell Green Jr. and Walker Kessler. I'm excited to see what Traore does because, like I said, even with the pick and pop, this kid can actually shoot. Walker Kessler, all due respect to him, I think that one of the things that one of the negatives about Walker Kessler's game is his shooting. He took a decent amount of threes last season, didn't make a whole lot. He's shooting, I believe, a little bit over 26% in conference play, which is not great. I would like to see if Kessler does elect to come back, which we'll talk about that in a second. If he does elect to come back, I would like to see him work on his three-point shot. If he goes to the NBA, if he's going to take those types of looks, I'd like to see an NBA team try and develop him a little bit and develop that shot for him. But this guy can actually shoot it. I mean, he's got really good form, really, really good form for a 6'10" guy. He's not Jabari Smith shooting form. He's not at that level, but I'm very impressed with what I saw during his some of his film that I took a look at. Defensively, he's got length and he was switching on to smaller players in high school and doing a really good job of defending them, making sure that they didn't get to the basket. It's similar to Kessler in the fact that he's got so much length. You can let a kid drive on you to his right, but the moment that he goes to put a shot up, if he thinks he's gotten by you, you're sticking that paw out there, you're getting a block. He's lengthy, he's quick. I would say something about his game though. He's a patient player. I wouldn't say he's slow. Like I said, he's got a little bit of speed. He can get to the basket quickly. But he's a patient player. I really, really like his timing, not just on the defensive end, but on the offensive end as well. Does a really, really good job of picking and choosing his spots, and he does a really good job of timing his decisions, whether it be to shoot, whether it be to back somebody down, make a post move, get a block. He's very, very knowledgeable about the game. I can tell he's got untapped potential, and he understands what's going on. He's making his decisions at the right time. We can develop him a little bit. I think he's going to turn into a star. Auburn's going to ask him, like I mentioned, to switch on to quicker players, and that's something that Auburn's defense has kind of been known for. That's actually something that LSU's defense was known for. The school that Traore was originally committed to is switching and trying to get these big men to play against assignments that most coaches would deem a bad matchup. I think that Yohan Traore is definitely able to play well defensively. I think 1 through 5. Again, like I mentioned, he's a very patient player, but I would also note that he's very aggressive around the rim. And this is something that other scouting reports have said is like he's looking to dunk the ball or get a layup every single opportunity that he gets. But in my opinion, after getting to watch some film, he picks and chooses his spots when to do that. He picks those spots and that he's very, very good at timing that. He's very, very good at timing. Should I go get a dunk right now? I was impressed with his offensive game. Very aggressive around the rim, but picks and chooses his spots well. He's also not a great jumper, which is something I noticed. Like he likes to dunk. He really likes to dunk. But he's not a huge, he doesn't have a lot of hops, but I mean, do you really need to at 6'10"? I mean, you could just kind of dunk on everybody anyway. The comp that I've got, and I saw somebody else have this comp, but I was thinking about it actually beforehand, and not like I'm some genius. It was just like, oh, look, somebody else out there agrees with me. My NBA comp is Lauri Markkanen. I believe he's currently on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very, very similar in, they don't have a lot of hops, but really, really strong post moves. They have extended range. They can handle the ball a little bit. They can play offensively towards the basket or with their back to the basket. Kind of stretch 5 type of guys. So that was my comp. And then here's 24/7 Sports scouting report. Traore, and if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. That's what I've heard is Traore. Traore is a skilled, efficient, and productive big man with a good natural frame. His efficiency comes in how he generally plays within himself offensively, and he does what is asked of him on the floor. Traore displays a natural shooting touch, not only inside, but out to 15 feet. And he always looks to dunk everything he possibly can, like I just said, while operating inside or in the dunker spot. He also has great hands, is a solid rebounder, and runs the floor with purpose. Traore has the size, mobility, and skill as a big man that high major guards would love to play with. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier is I think that you can run a two-man game. You can run a pick and pop, a pick and roll really, really efficiently with this kid because he has that extended range. 24/7 Sports says out to 15 feet. I saw a lot of film of him in high school just knocking down three-point jumpers in the half court where they would run sets and get him in the corner, get him in the wing, get him straight away. He can shoot from wherever. Again, he's not Jabari Smith level, and I'm interested to see how that shooting translates statistically to the collegiate game because I didn't pull up stats on this kid. I didn't see what he was shooting from three, but he's got really, really good form, and he was knocking down a lot from what I could tell. So what does this mean for Auburn's roster? The addition of the second highest rated recruit in Auburn history, just behind Jabari Smith. What does it mean for Kessler? What does it mean for Jalen Williams? What does it mean for potentially another guy that could be coming in, Julian Phillips, a five-star power forward? Well, let's talk about Walker Kessler first. There's the question, does he stay or does he leave for the NBA draft? Should he stay or should he go? It's a great song. But Walker Kessler, I think that if he does elect to return, which I don't think he's going to. But if he does elect to return, you've got Walker Kessler at the 5. And like I said earlier, Traore's kind of a stretch dude. So I think you could play him at the 4. Could you start him at the 4? I would like to think that that would be possible. You got a 6'10". Well, we said the same thing about Jabari Smith. You got a 6'10" guy out there at power forward that can shoot. But Traore, I think, is a little bit more physical than Jabari Smith was. Not a better shooter, but more physical, I think. So you could potentially start him at the 4 if Kessler returns. If he doesn't, then you put him at the 5, and then you take a look at your power forward situation. You've got Jalen Williams at the 4, and Bruce Pearl, like we noted a couple of days ago, might have even been yesterday's show. All the days are blending together for me at this point. He noted that it was like, I'm excited to build the team around Jalen Williams whenever this next season comes around. And I think that a lineup consisting of Zep Jasper, Katie Johnson, Chance Westry, or Alan Flanagan, and then you've got Jalen Williams and Yohan Traore. That's an interesting look. It's an interesting look. I would be really excited to see what Williams does in an extended role because I believe in him. I think he's a talented player. But if Kessler does leave and Traore comes in, he's playing at the 5, and Auburn picks up Julian Phillips, what does that mean for Williams? Does he come off the bench? And for me, I mean, if I were in his position, I would just be like, this sucks. Like I'm a fourth-year guy, and I'm still coming off the bench now, even though I got a taste of playing in a starting legitimate role back in 2020. Mistakes that I've been limited to backup duty for 4 years now. I don't know if Williams would transfer in that situation, but if it were me, I'd be like, yeah, this ain't fun. But of course, like for an Auburn fan, it's like, dude, we got depth. We got Jalen Williams and Julian Phillips playing at the same spot. That's hype. Now, the issue for me right now with Auburn's depth is at the 3. And I think a lot of you would agree with that. I just slammed my pen into the desk, but I think a lot of people would agree with the fact that Auburn really needs help at the 3. Obviously, Devan Cambridge in the transfer portal. Going to talk about where he landed in a little bit. But I think that Auburn definitely needs to get somebody that can shoot. And I'm curious to see if Chance Westry is going to be that guy. Of course, he's so young. I just don't know if Pearl would feel comfortable letting Westry rock and it just be him and Flanagan. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. So we'll just have to see what else Auburn does with their roster. All right, transfer portal update. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, Auburn reached out to a West Virginia transfer, a West Virginia defensive lineman. You can read about this over at auburndaily.com. Also, if you want to learn more about Auburn, new Auburn commitment, Yohan Traore, you can also check that out over at auburndaily.com. But transfer portal update here. West Virginia defensive lineman Akeem Mesidor, I believe is how you pronounce his name, has transferred out of West Virginia, and within hours, Auburn offered him. I think that this is definitely somebody interesting, but a question that should be asked is, does Auburn need him? We'll get to that in a second. 6'2", 272-pound defensive lineman. Auburn, Miami, and USC are reportedly in pursuit, and that's Southern California, not South Carolina. Mesidor had 70 tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss, and 9.5 sacks over 2 seasons at West Virginia. And he left the West Virginia program, and I don't know enough about the situation, but according to Zach Blackerby, writer here at auburndaily.com, editor here at auburndaily.com, Mesidor entered the transfer portal because he did not feel safe on campus. And Mesidor even cited that in a social media post explaining why he left West Virginia and why he's entering the transfer portal. He said, quote, "Despite the recent media conference and public speculation, I've decided to transfer for my overall well-being and in pursuit of a better environment for my development on and off the field. These last 48 hours have been extremely challenging, and at times I have felt unsafe on campus." I don't know what the situation is there, but I'm a little concerned. But if he does potentially choose to come to Auburn, I think we have to look at what's going on in the big picture, the entire roster. And I would love to have the services of a guy who's got 9.5 sacks and 70 tackles underneath his belt. Like, sure, it's not that I think that he's a bad player. It's just Auburn's defensive line. I mean, they've got some depth, right? I mean, you look at the defensive end, you've got Colby Wooden, Derek Hall, Dylan Brooks, Aku Leota. You've got 4 guys there. At defensive line, Marcus Harris, Jeffrey Imba, Jason Jones, Tabechi Okoli. Defensive tackles like Kevius Walker, Marquise Burks. I mean, is there any room for Mesidor to actually come and play and get some legitimate playing time? Is all that Mesidor wants is just a rotational role within the defensive line? Because if it is, he can get it. Again, I don't know what the purpose of trying to pick this kid up is, considering we do have a lot of guys on roster that are already competing for a spot in the rotation on the defensive line. I think it would be a disservice to Mesidor to get him to come here only to find out that there are 3 guys in front of him at the end of the day. So best of luck to wherever he lands. If he does land at Auburn, we'll take him. Like, I'm not saying that he's a bad player. I'm just saying that I don't know if it would be the best decision for him. That's me trying to be genuinely honest. All right, one more thing here. Devan Cambridge has officially found a new home. He announced last night. The interesting thing is that he said he was going to announce at 7 Central, and then he announced like 8:09 or something weird like that. And it wasn't even him that announced it. It was John Rothstein. Former Auburn small forward Devan Cambridge has officially transferred to Arizona State. Again, per John Rothstein, he played for the Tigers for 3 seasons before announcing his decision to transfer out of the program just days after Auburn lost to Miami in the NCAA tournament. Cambridge is a former 3-star prospect. He's going to be joined by his brother Desmond Cambridge at Arizona State. The 2 entered the portal around the same time and then informed everyone that they were a package deal on social media. You can read more about this over at auburndaily.com. Cambridge, during his time at Auburn, I believe his best season was in 2020. Averaged about 9 points for the Tigers. This past season was relegated to a smaller role. But over his career, I mean, the numbers for a guy that was coming off the bench to average 6 points and 2 rebounds, I mean, it's not terrible. I'm not going to lie to you, though, just to shoot straight with you. What I think isn't great are some of his shooting statistics. He progressed shooting free throws. He was a really, really bad free throw shooter during his first season with the Tigers, but he progressed in that category and then statistically regressed shooting the 3. During his freshman season, he shot 34.2% from 3, 28.7% during his sophomore season, and then 22.1% this past season. Just could not get the ball to go in the hole. And here was my other problem with Cambridge, and I think that we've talked about this before on the show. Devan Cambridge was not comfortable with the ball in his hands. He just wasn't. He was not somebody that could drive to the hole and get you a bucket. He wasn't even somebody that you really wanted dribbling around the perimeter. He just didn't look comfortable. But I'll tell you what he could do. He could dunk. He could catch lobs. He could jump out of the gym. He could grab offensive rebounds. But at the 3 spot, with some of the struggles that Auburn had offensively, with their guards not having the ability to actually drive and get a bucket or get to the rim consistently, not having somebody on the wing that could actually do that was a little bit of a bigger body that could bail you out at times. I'm not asking for him. I said this on the show, actually. Yeah, I do remember talking about this. Doesn't need to have the handles of Kyrie, right? Doesn't need to have the handles of Jamal Crawford. I'm just asking for a little bit more out of Cambridge than not being able to trust him with the ball at all, whether it be in a catch and shoot situation or a catch a lob situation. He just wasn't that guy, though. I do hope that he's able to perform well at Arizona State, because the Sun Devils need some help. They went 14-17 last season, finished 8th in the Pac-12. They had a very, very bad offense, 208th nationally, according to Kim Palm. So Devan, I think, is going to be able to provide a little offense, going to be able to provide that offensive rebounding ability. And then also Devan's brother, Desmond, averaged 16.4 points, not just last season, but over the course of his career in college. Desmond's played 4 years in college, played at Brown for 2 seasons, played at Nevada for 2 as well. But Desmond is just a flat-out scorer. I think the brothers are going to have good time out there in the desert. So, yeah, best of luck to Devan Cambridge, finding a new home. Excited to see what happens for the former Auburn small forward there. No hard feelings toward Cambridge. I do genuinely, like I've said 3 times, I want him to succeed. It's just that he was not the most efficient player for the Tigers. And all things considered, you look at this small forward position for Auburn, like we talked about, Allen Flanagan, with Chance Westry. I feel like right now you need a third guy to really feel good about that room heading into the 2022-23 season. I don't know where that guy's going to come from in the transfer portal. There are a lot of names out there right now. But I think Auburn needs to get one guy, and he's got to be able to shoot the basketball. Unless Chance Westry comes in and he's shooting like 36%, 37%, which may be asking for a lot, but I think Auburn, with their poor shooting guard play, take that however you want. And specifically the shooting guard shooting the basketball. And we're not going to get into that today. We can get into that another time. But with Auburn's poor shooting at the shooting guard spot, they've got to be able to have somebody else on roster that can shoot, because Jabari Smith's gone. The SEC's best 3-point shooter is gone. And Wendell Green can only do so much. And Zep Jasper is limited, not because of his own inabilities, but because the coaching staff, I guess, did not want him taking a ton of shots last season. Tried to get him to be more aggressive as the season went on. But Auburn's guards, not the best shooters in the world. Katie Johnson, like I mentioned, he's struggling, man. Gonna need somebody to step up. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Auburn Daily Show. Hey, follow us on the socials if you're not already. You can follow us on Twitter at @SI_Auburn. The articles coming out there all the time so that you can catch up and read up on everything Auburn related. We've also got equestrian articles that have been put out by Auburn Elvis himself. Really, really interesting stuff going on our Twitter. And you can also follow us at Auburn Daily on Facebook, and then keep up with everything that we put out over at auburndaily.com. And we stream live every single weekday at 4 p.m. On Twitch, on Facebook, and YouTube. If you want to subscribe and follow there, I'm sure you're watching this through one of those platforms. But if you want to go to the other two, subscribe, follow, whatever you want to do, that's cool with me. Again, appreciate everybody out there listening. I will see you all on Monday. Gonna have some more interesting stuff about. I think finally we're gonna get into some we're going to get into some more spring practice stuff, but we're also going to get into, I want to get into some way too early top 25s because I love that type of stuff. We're going to talk about where Auburn should fall. At least that's my goal. All right. I will see you all then. Have a good day, everybody, and God bless.